everyone, welcome to MJ Hobby Corner. I'm Martin and I'll be your host in this video. So for today, what I would like to do is give you guys an update for those of you that are interested in yesterday's little scratch build. Yesterday afternoon, I posted a short showing a spider walker that I was working on, and this is a very low budget build using low budget materials. And so today it's pretty much finished. We're going to look at it first without any paint so I can identify some of the things that I'm doing, and then we're going to give it a nice coat of primer and we'll see it painted. Now, very important here is that vehicle designs are very subjective. First and foremost, I use for this particular collection a lot of inspiration of actual World War I vehicles, and so things are a little bit boxy and a little bit, weird in shape. But those kinds of designs are very subjective. What's more important here is the technique and the materials used, the low budget work that allows you to build in this way. So that's what's really important. And that's really the focus of what I would like to demonstrate. So let's go to the tabletop and check out this spider walker. A spider walker in its very early stages, and this is going to be basically for this steam tank collection. It's going to be part of that collection. So a very early kind of steam powered spider tank or spider walker. These are the skeletons to the legs, and this is more or less how they will form. Okay, so here is the spider walker. Now let's move some of the tanks, which are part of this collection as well. And some of these vehicles are steam powered, and some of them are not going to be steam powered, more like a diesel punk or something. So here is the spider walker. I did a lot of work on it, and I used old Benadryl tablet box. That's what I used to form the body. So it gave me more or less the size that I wanted for this thing. Now the features are, it has a frontal howitzer, which changes elevation. Okay, very simple mechanic to help it work. And very important is that this is December Scratch Builders project. So basically I took a lot of photographs as I was building, and I will show in the magazine how I built it step by step. Now the legs, you can see some of the detail on the legs here. They use mesh and stick, and they also use these paper fasteners, which I'm also going to add a little bit of detail before I paint it. I'm going to add a little glass bead to the center of those circles so that it's not so plain. You can see how the feet are actually made with these mesh components, and then also with a couple of glass beads at the tip. So there's a lot of detail. There's detail down below. I'm gonna add a weapon down here, and that's because these vehicles, being so large, are very prone to being attacked from the bottom. And since they also cross trenches, I am going to have some kind of weapon down here. Here is these are either mufflers, if it's going to be diesel punk, or, they could still be smokestacks if the vehicle is like steam powered. But I'm thinking, it could be either of those things. So here are the turrets. The turrets are very like roundish, ballish, and they move. And these little wooden beads were drilled with my Dremel so that I can glue in the glass bead and paper clip wire. Paper clips are very useful because they're very strong. You can see all the detail in the rear. Here are the primary tools. I use my cutters for cutting wood, for cutting wire, especially the paper clip wire. That's very important. I also use my X-Acto knife for details like here, the little viewports here. Those are cut with my X-Acto knife. And then I use tweezers because there's a lot of small detail, and my pliers also help. My primary adhesive is hot glue, and I'm using a gun with a very thin nozzle. In addition to that, crazy glue, super glue, is very useful for a lot of the small parts, and I also mix it sometimes with tacky glue, especially on the wooden details. A mix of tacky glue and super glue works very, very well. You can see some of those wooden details here. We also have the hatches right here. These are hatches. You can kind of see the mesh detail that I use to represent the hatches right there. Right there. Here is a door with a small ladder, and that's theoretically a ladder that is, can extend further. And that's about it. So it still needs a couple of little things. I'm going to detail these little circular areas, and then we're good to go. Okay, so I put the vehicle down on a blue surface so we can see it. I added some black primer and then a little bit of gray up above, but I have to wait for most of this to dry, but we can see how the vehicle looks. I added a couple of pieces of card, and this is from an old model box, hat models, and that's basically what I used to add a little extra detail. And I added those because I didn't like the way that the hot glue the stuff that it formed here. So you do have to be careful with hot glue whenever it is used, but it's okay because there's ways of fixing things like that. So it's not too bad. So let's see, the gun still moves. Okay, the howitzer, that still moves. We have the little turrets here, which they move and they have full movement. And then down below, I gave the model a little bit of silver, which I'm going to let dry, a little bit of metallic silver, and then I started the large hatch down here. And you can kind of see how the details added, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad. Okay. Now, with this vehicle, I'm going to hit it now with my airbrush. I'm going to work on it with my airbrush. And with the airbrush, I'll probably do some kind of camouflage pattern. I have one in mind, which I think will work very good for this, but if I can pull it off, I'll do that. If not, I will just give it, because this is going to be for a desert campaign that I'm looking into, many of the vehicles will have like a desert camo. But really, I mean, I can paint it any way I want. I can even leave it in a sort of grayish black form. It doesn't look bad. Of course, I would have to paint these structures there. But not too bad. Okay, not too bad. And there's the metallic on the mufflers or whatever, the exhausts. And we see the details in the rear. It has a lot of detail. Big difference from yesterday. I'm going to call it a dune crawler. Leviathan class dune crawler. There we go. I have a little bit of a narrative for it already, and I'm going to probably post that on my Patreon. So here it is, a dune crawler made out of simple cardboard, mesh, and, well, a variety of other materials. Well, what we just saw was December's project of the month for my magazine, Scratch Builder Monthly, so all the details will be in the magazine. When I decide to paint it, it'll be probably with my airbrush, and what I'll do then is I'll have an article in the magazine, if I have time, include an article on painting. But in my Patreon, I will more than likely have a short video on how I paint camouflage schemes, if I decide to paint it in a camouflage scheme. But now most of the tanks will be in sort of a desert camo, because the campaign that I would like to play is in the desert. So that's what this World War I collection is. I will be using figures from 15mm figures from Peter Pig, and also other manufacturers for the troops I may have some actual World War I figures in my collection, so I'll have to look. But either way, that's the plan. Okay. Um, and yeah, so I hope that you liked it. It's a very cool little project, and basically, your primary tool here, aside from the little things that I showed, your primary tool is your imagination. Really, that's the key, I think. So there you have it, a World War I ish inspired walking machine for those fictitious games. And also in December Scratch Builder, you guys are going to see the very first articles on bioarmies. So we have a few very small bugs that I made for those hive swarms. You're going to see that also detailed in the magazine. So if you want to help support the channel, that's one way to help support all of this creative stuff. Or you can also check out our Patreon. I'll have bonus videos there, narrative videos, which our patrons should be getting some very soon. Basically, just a lot of these scratch builds have their own stories that I make up for different games. So narrative videos and extra digital content, all of that is on my Patreon. So thank you very much, folks, and thank you to all my patrons and all my supporters, to all of you who support Scratch Builder Monthly at Wargames Vault. It really makes it possible for me to continue to do a lot of these things, and I use the lowest budget materials possible. That's basically my thing, recycling materials and using the lowest budget materials possible. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.